Good afternoon and welcome to the Assembly Committee on Commerce and Labor. Secretary, will you please take roll?
Assembly members Anderson, Carter,
Present.
Cole, Hardy, Hadigi, Kasama, Miller, Monroe Moreno, O'Neill, Roth, Torres Fawcett, Yeager, Urick, Chair Marzola.
And I am here. Welcome everybody that is here with us in Carson City, those watching in Las Vegas, and those tuning in over the internet. Today we will hear three bills: Assembly Bill 241, Assembly Bill 280, and Assembly Bill 396. I will not be taking those in order. We will also conduct a work session to take action on measures the committee has heard in previous meetings. I plan to hold the work session first. Before we get started, I do have a few housekeeping announcements. Members of the public may provide testimony in various ways, which are all listed in our agenda. When testifying, please remember to turn on your microphone to speak and off to listen. Also remember to state and spell your name for the record. If you have handouts for the committee, please provide 20 copies to the committee secretary prior to your testimony. Committee information is available on Nellis, which can be accessed through the legislature's website. You may also watch our meetings through Nellis or the legislature's YouTube channel. We ask that public comment be kept to 2 minutes so that everyone can be accommodated. Public comment may also be submitted in writing, either in addition to testifying or in lieu thereof. As always, I expect courtesy and respect in all our interactions, even if we may not agree. Finally, please remember to turn off or silence all your electronic devices, especially your cell phones. That concludes my housekeeping announcements. We will move to our work session. It is not customary for the committee to take testimony or otherwise rehear the bills during work session. However, I may invite witnesses to come forward for clarification or questions during our consideration of a measure. And I don't believe I said this, but Secretary, please mark members present once they arrive. Thank you. With that, we will start with Assembly Bill 121.
Assembly Bill 121 revised provisions governing landlords and tenants, sponsored by Assemblymember Considine, heard on February 17th, and there are 4 proposed amendments as listed on the work session page.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to note again that there's so much about Assembly Bill 121 that many of us really like, particularly the tightening up of fees, because I think there's been abuse in our communities with the fees and charges to tenants. Unfortunately, myself and my colleagues will be in no, just because we still have trouble with the utility charges and the lack of flexibility there. Thank you.
Committee members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 121. I have a first from Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. Is there a second? I have a second from Assemblymember Miller. Is there any discussion on the motion? I don't see any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Please raise your hands. I have a nay from Assemblymember O'Neill, a nay from Assemblymember Kasama, Assemblymember Urick, Assemblymember Cole, and Assemblymember Hardy. Motion carries. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Considine. Next is Assembly Bill 211.
Assembly Bill 211 revises provisions relating to substandard properties, sponsored by Assemblymember Considine, heard on February 12th, and the proposed amendments are listed on your work session document.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 211. I have a first from Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. Is there a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Are there any discussions on the motion? Assemblymember Cole.
So although we support the
ability for the county and city to have a right to go against landlords that are substandard landlords. We are concerned with the private right of action created in Section 9B as in boy of the Act, and the ability for nonprofits to stand in the place of counties and cities and initiate such actions. So for that reason, my colleagues and I will be a no.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Please raise your hands. We have a nay from Assemblymember O'Neill, Assemblymember Hardy, Assemblymember Urick, Assemblymember Cole, and Assemblymember Hardy. Motion carries. I will assign that floor statement to, Assemblymember Kasama. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Considine. Finally, we have Assembly Bill 223.
Assembly Bill 223 revises provisions relating to the habitability of rental property, sponsored by Assemblymember Considine, heard on March 10th, and the amendments are on your work session document.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 223. I have a first from Assemblymember Miller and a second from Assemblymember Monroe Moreno. Is there any discussion on the motion? I don't see any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. Please raise your hands. Assemblymember O'Neill, Assemblymember Kasama, Assemblymember Urick, Assemblymember Cole, and Assemblymember Hardy. Motion carries. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblymember Considine. And that will conclude our work session for today. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 396. This measure revises provisions relating to housing. Welcome, Assemblymember. I'm sure you miss Commerce and Labor very much. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the Committee on Commerce and Labor. My name is Shay Backus, and I have the pleasure of representing Assembly District 37. I am here today to present Assembly Bill 396, a bill aimed at addressing Nevada's ongoing housing challenges by expanding the ability of homeowners to construct accessory dwelling units, also known as ADUs, as well as other measures pertaining to policy to lighten the financial strains of Nevada homeowners. As most of you know, Nevada was the fastest growing state in the nation from 1940 to 2010. However, Nevada has been hit the hardest during the Great Recession and COVID-19, resulting in disruptions to home building. Since 2010, our housing supply has struggled to keep up with the number of residents moving to Nevada. Nevada, like much of the country, is experiencing an affordability crisis driven by a shortage of available housing. Homeownership and rental prices have skyrocketed, putting financial strains on families, young professionals, and retirees. According to a 2023 American Community Survey, Nevada ranks 6th in the U.S. for excessively cost-burdened homeowners and 2nd for excessively cost-burdened renters. AB 396 is intended to address a few issues that came up over the last year in an effort to address the financial strains that Nevadans have experienced. Specifically, AB 396 can be looked at as 3 separate parts. First, it increases available housing through accessory dwelling units. Second, eliminate surprises at the time of closing on the purchase of a residence, resulting in a mortgage not being funded. And 3, address abuses of HOAs issuing fines to homeowners and condo owners. Over the interim, IFC approved funding for the Gwynn Center to conduct an affordable housing assessment following the COVID-19 pandemic. In its report published in February 2025, some key findings included Nevada lacks missing middle housing and accessory dwelling units. One policy suggestion is to encourage the construction of accessory dwelling units. The explanation from the Gwynn Center truly sums up the benefits of ADUs. Accessory dwelling units, sometimes known as backyard cottages or granny flats, are additional homes built on a lower density residential parcels. Attached or detached, they are usually smaller than the primary house, can be built to minimize neighborhood impact, and are less expensive to build than larger single and multifamily buildings. Accessory dwelling units can supplement rather than replace other forms of housing production and put downward pressure on rents by increasing supply and competition among landlords. They can also help property owners increase their income and wealth while accommodating family changes and adding flexibility for the future. The state has various options for encouraging the construction of ADUs, including altering size requirements, relaxing minimum lot sizes, not enforcing parking requirements, or minimizing infrastructure mandates. While this bill draft was submitted before the Gwen Center issued its policy suggestions, it is intended to address existing local ordinances that are highly restricted. Many local governments impose strict zoning limitations, minimum lot sizes, or even prohibiting more than one stove to be on a property to prevent multifamily living. These policies often make it financially unfeasible or legally impossible for property owners to add an ADU to their home, even when the space or infrastructure already exists. The second portion of the bill is intended to address some legal challenges faced with rental units within a common owner community, which I will interchangeably refer to as HOAs, as well as issues that preclude financing of a unit. This portion of the bill is intended to be separate from the ADU portion, as I recognize that HOAs do have covenants that run with the land that a neighborhood would be subjected to, including the need to submit any plans for an ADU to the HOA for approval. Another legal challenge that is addressed through AB 396 is having associations disclose certain insurance with the resale package, as financing could be impacted with whether or not the owner's association maintains proper insurance for the common areas. Here, we don't want a homeowner to have to wait to the close of their purchase to find out that their financing did not go through. The third portion of this bill was an attempt to address several constituents in AB 37's concerns over abuses by homeowner association boards. Specifically, homeowners were being charged with excessive fines, making their cost of living increase to the point some could not afford all of their monthly bills. An egregious exemplar of this was one owner received a fine immediately after closing on their unit as their realtor had left behind their lockbox. This specific HOA board levied fines upwards of $1,000 upon the homeowner. With AB 396, my intent was to strengthen guardrails against such egregious conduct. However, it kind of came out a little light, but I'll touch on that with the subsections. Before I walk the committee through the bill, I do want to express my willingness to make some amendments to the bill to improve it. I have realized that some of the provisions provide more restrictions than what is already permitted. You will later hear from both Clark County and Washoe County in opposition to AB 396 because the county's ordinances actually make ADU construction a seamless process. Additionally, I do want to stress that the bill will need to explicitly exclude the Tahoe Area Master Plan area. I also want to highlight that several of our municipalities that would be subject to AB 396 are working towards implementing policy for ADUs. I will, of course, continue to work with stakeholders on an amendment to AB 396. I will now walk you through the sections of the bill. Starting with Section 1 of the bill. Subsection 1 establishes that the governing bodies who meet the population requirements must adopt an ordinance that authorizes a residential property owner to apply to add an ADU if they agree to certain affordability criterion. Subsection 2 establishes that ADUs must not exceed 75% of the primary residence gross floor area or 1,000 square feet, whichever is smaller. However, this is a prime example of how my bill is more restrictive than one of our counties. Washoe County is an exemplar that actually allows ADUs upwards of over 2,500 square feet, depending on where you live. So that is obviously something that I'm open to discuss. Subsection 3 governs the governing body's adoption of an ordinance for the addition of an ADU. Subsection 3A ensures that there is an expedited process for getting permission for construction of an ADU. This is another exemplar that I want to highlight that Clark County right now does is you don't even have to go through the zoning process. It's almost like building a pool. You can simply go to permitting, and you'll probably hear from them when they come up in opposition. Subsection 3B ensures that an ordinance does not include conditions for approval of an ADU, such as requiring prohibiting separate kitchen facilities or parking, mandating similar design or material of the ADU to the primary residence, requiring more restrictive setbacks or lot coverage that is in existence for the primary residence, or requiring offset improvements such as improvements made to the public street. Subsection 3C and D permit the ADU to be used as a long-term rental. Subsection 3E precludes any restrictions on who can live in the ADU. Subsection 4 ensures that unless otherwise stated in subsections 1 and 2, that there is no requirement for a restrictive covenant for an ADU to be approved. Subsection 5 ensures that any zoning regulations adopted by the relevant governing bodies pursuant to NRS 278.250 permit ADUs. Subsection 6 ensures that all ADUs meet applicable building and health and safety codes, but this does not mean that the local governing boards can require that ADUs comply with commercial building standards. Subsection 7 clarifies definitions used in Section 1. Sections 2, 3, and 4 merely make conforming changes to other statutory provisions under Chapter 278. Sections 11 and 14 pertain to the timing of the implementation by local governing bodies as to the implementation of an ordinance. If a local governing body fails to adopt an ordinance consistent with the provisions of Section 1 of AB 396 by January 1st, 2026, then ADUs are permitted on any parcel zone for residential use. Section 12 does provide any ordinance that conflicts with Section 1 to be void and unenforceable. HOA changes. This is basically sections 5 to 10 and address the second two portions of this bill. Section 5 to 10 make changes to Chapter 116 of the Nevada Revised Statutes, which govern common interest ownership. Section 5 revises statutory provisions pertaining to amendment of the declaration. These changes include explicit limitations on who is able to modify the declaration that impacts unit boundaries and addresses leasing of units to the extent it has to meet underwriting requirements of the lender or insurance carrier of the common interest community. Section 6 revises statutory provisions regarding termination of a common interest community by clarifying that 80% of the units are those that are not owned by the declarant. Similar to Section 5, Section 8 revises statutory provisions regarding when an association may prohibit a unit owner from leasing their unit to specifically be limited to meet underwriting requirements of lenders of first mortgage on the units, like the common area, or insurance companies that issue insurance policies to the association. Section 9 revises NRS 116.4109 for resale of units to include proof of insurance policies that an association is required to carry pursuant to NRS 116.3113. This stems from purchasers not being able to close after going through the escrow process because the lender denies funding if it is later discovered that the association is not carrying insurance for the common areas. Section 10, while it is does not go as far as I had hoped for, it increases the fine that a commission may impose from $1,000 to $5,000. This is anticipated to follow a scenario where a unit owner seeks relief from the ombudsman for owners in common interest communities and condominium hotels, or commission for common interest communities and condominium hotels. AB 396 strikes a balance between state action and local control. It provides local governing bodies the opportunity to tailor ADU policies to their communities, which some have already done, while ensuring that housing growth is not stalled by bureaucratic inaction or excessive restrictions. Expanding ADU access is a pragmatic and efficient way to increase housing supply. AB 396 also limits barriers to HOA limitations on elections for rented properties and has the intent to address abuses by bad acting common owner associations that improperly use fines that impact high-cost Nevadans. Thank you for your time in hearing AB 396, and I ask for your support. At this time, I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Assemblymember, for your presentation. We will start with Assemblymember Cole.
Hello, thank you for the presentation, and thank you, Chair. So this is, I'm going to try to phrase it as a question, right? But I think it might be more of a statement of concern, but it's still going to be a question. So as I understand it, generally speaking, I know Nevada is a Dillon's rule state, and that, we give the power to the municipalities and the counties. However, zoning and land use decisions have historically, and even in statute, are really reserved for those jurisdictions. And I think some of the comments that you've made where the counties and the cities are coming out in opposition illustrates that point. So is there any concern that you have that by dictating it from this top-down perspective, that the communities will actually lose their ability to determine what's appropriate for each of their jurisdictions and even nuances within the jurisdictions that they have?
Obviously, you correctly said it is.
Your name, Assembly Member?
Thank you so much. Shay Backus, Representative for Assembly District 37. Thank you for the question. Assemblymember Cole through Assemblymember Marzola.
You can go direct.
I was getting into my nerdy mindset, and so my mind immediately went to talking rather than taking those few moments to introduce myself on the record, so it's not confusing. It's interesting because I've been in the midst of reading some law articles pertaining just to this issue. The Urban Lawyer addressing states like Nevada with Dillon's rule, and right now we're in a situation where public policy is calling for affordable housing, and it's part of our duties. We get elected, just as our localities do, to represent our communities. And I will tell you, one of the issues that I talked to a majority of my community about, and extending outside of my community, when I was talking to constituents of my colleagues' districts, was the cost of living, affordable housing. And so I think it's pertinent, and this is why it works that we are a Dillon's rule state, is at times like this when we can dictate public policy to aid the residents of the state of Nevada.
Next, we'll go to Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much for this presentation. I had the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about it this morning, but I just wanted to make sure that it was clear too for the record. In regards to Section 1 as it pertains to the accessory dwelling unit, it does state that the owner would have to agree in writing to add an affordability restriction to the residential property for them to be eligible for this specific provisions in the NRS. And I'm just wondering, what the timeline for that looks like. How long would it have to meet those restrictions? And then what would happen if that house were to be sold?
Thank you, Assemblymember. Through Assemblymember Marzola, Shay Backus, Representative for District 37.
You can go direct.
I'm almost going to forget what I say by the end. But anyway, we did talk about that, and the bill is kind of void on that language. And through various and many meetings, we've been kind of exploring how to do this. Because it is specific and aimed at addressing those at 80% of household median incomes in the counties where it would be built, is how that looks like. Without doing any deed restrictions, some discussions were when the application for the building permit. I'm open to any suggestions, but the intent is really to hopefully assist, if not provide more supply. I think regardless if this was something that had to come out because it just didn't work, I think just looking at, because I had fun time reading the Gwynn Center's report that IFC had approved, was really basic economics. The more supply we have will hopefully bring down the cost of living for people.
Thank you, and great to see you back in your favorite committee.
Next is Assemblymember Hardy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being here to have this discussion about something I find interesting. I hadn't heard before. We were on a trip to California, and they were talking about this, and so I found it interesting. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding and not confusing when you were talking about HOAs part of the bill. So I'm just kind of thinking in my mind if this is correct. So if I'm a homeowner and my neighbor would decide that they want to build an ADU, this says here, like, the county can't require separate parking is available. The exterior design, the roof pitch or finishing doesn't have to match the primary residence. So I'm just trying to think, and you can tell me if this is right. So they could build, something in their backyard or whatever. It could be close to the fence, close to my fence. It doesn't have to match like the house they already have. There's not requirement for parking. They could be parking like in front of my house. And if you're in an HOA, could they not allow that? So that's what I'm trying to sort out. Because I can just see neighbors building various different structures, and so I'm just trying to figure out, is that what this bill would allow?
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Shea Backus, for the record. And for a side note, today would be one of my favorite days of being a part of Commerce and Labor when you're having these discussions pertaining to housing. And so these are like policy things that are really important to Nevadans. And Assemblymember Hardy, I think your question really is, and let me rephrase it so I understand it, is if I am in an HOA community, and one of the HOA unit owners wanted to build an ADU, they could just build it under this law versus the requirements of the CCNRs. Is that my understanding? Okay. If that's my understanding, then right. The HOA has covenants that run with the land, and it's not my intent to preempt Chapter 116. It got confusing in this bill because I was trying to do a lot of things to address a lot of issues in one bill, so I was trying to compartmentalize it. And so when you see this big policy in Section 1 followed by a lot of little changes to 116, it does get lost in there. So that was the intent.
Committee members, any additional questions? Assemblymember Urick.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks again for the presentation. My question is, again, is going to fall in line some of my colleagues with the ADUs, and that basically we can't allow the jurisdictions to require certain sizes, kitchens, bathrooms, all of those sorts of issues. And my question is, in particularly when we get into areas like, I think it's R4 or something like where you get like quarter acre lots kind of thing. I'm thinking a typical Las Vegas neighborhood where infrastructure was designed to support certain amounts of utility usage, water, sewer, and all that. Is there any risk that by adding on and letting folks just add on a number of these ADUs that we could further hurt our local jurisdictions with what they used to design the original infrastructure?
Thank you, Assemblymember Urick. Shea Backus, representative for Assembly District 37. Thank you for your question. I mean, this is something I struggle with. I deal with construction issues all the time and off-site improvements in my capacity as a lawyer, and it's something I thought about. But I look at us building pools. Like, I wish we could look at ADUs is as simple as building a pool. Like when we build a pool, if we live in a HOA community, you have to get that approved. There's certain building requirements. But to my knowledge, there's no restraints in our localities with respect to building a pool. You go and you get it permitted, and that certainly uses a lot of probably electricity unless you have like solar, and uses a lot of the water supply that's being pulled into a community. So, and this is one thing I haven't heard anyone complain about, but I'll tell you it's something I thought about because I just think about those things.
Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. Just to let everyone know that I will be limiting testimony, and so we will have 30 minutes for support, 30 minutes for opposition, and 30 minutes for neutral. 10 minutes here in Carson City, 10 minutes in Las Vegas, and 10 minutes over the phone lines. And with that, we will move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 396. Is there anyone here in Carson City? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and members. Mackenzie Warren Kay, WARRENKAY. On behalf of the real property section of the State Bar of Nevada, we are in support of AB 396. Assemblymember Backus never runs from a dense, complicated topic. I know the ADU piece got a lot of love, but I want to geek out on Section 9 with you ever so briefly. So NRS Chapter 116 governs Nevada common interest communities. So this most common example is a condo. So in a condo, everything other than the interior space is considered a common element. So insurance is super key when you're looking at a condominium. Currently, NRS requires an HOA to maintain a whole bunch of insurance, whether it's property, commercial general liability, but only to the extent that it's reasonably available. And right now, currently, if the insurance is not reasonably available, the association must notify all unit owners. The statute is silent on insurance when we're talking about the resale package. So the resale package has to include CC&Rs, the bylaws, the rules and regulations of the association budget. But the statute also permits a buyer to cancel the purchase agreement within 5 days after receipt of the resale package. So just to bring this into real life terms, a significant number of insurers, as you all know, particularly in the Northern Nevada market, as it relates to the increased fire risk, the cost and availability of insurance for common interest communities is a major concern for both buyers and sellers who may not even be aware that this substantial insurance cost would increase or in the instance of a notice of a non-renewal, but it's not yet disclosed to the owners of the community. So NRS 116.3113 requires the association to notify all unit owners if it's not reasonably available, but the same protection should also be given to prospective owners. Section 9 does this. The section is jazzed. You're going to hear from more of them in Las Vegas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Anthony Curry, and I'm here to also talk about the HOA provisions of AB 396 because it takes an important step towards reining in the authority of HOAs to issue fines and restrict homeowners from renting their properties. Additionally, this bill increases transparency for homeowners with that resale package inclusion of the insurance, so buyers have as much information as possible prior to entering into an indefinite business relationship with an HOA. These changes are a great initial step towards relieving some of the pressures that homeowners within HOAs experience when dealing with HOAs that blatantly violate the rules governing them. For these reasons, I fully support AB 396. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Michael Buckley. I'm an attorney. I'm also chair of the real property section, and I'm here in support of AB 396. Two provisions I wanted to talk about. Well, first of all, that 116 is a uniform act, and the Uniform Act is amended from time to time. And the two changes that require approval by owners other than the declarant for changing the boundaries of a unit or terminating the unit, those were changes in the 2021 Uniform Act, and just to protect the homeowners from a declarant who may not have sold all the units and wants to make fundamental changes, the owners will have a say in that. The other thing is, and on the restrictions on leasing that affect financing and insurance, Fannie Mae and FHA have changed over the years on whether whether a project becomes ineligible because of too much leasing, and these changes are designed to allow an association to make it easier to restrict leasing if necessary to meet the requirements of mortgage lending or insurance. And also, I'm in support of the other provisions of the bill and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 396, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. Just in case I missed anyone in Carson City, is there anyone wishing to testify in support? We will move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 396? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. Nick Ciccone, representing the City of Reno. Also want to put on the record the Urban Consortium's opposition to the bill. Just want to say we believe at the City of Reno that many tools are needed in order to address the affordability crisis when it comes to housing. Particularly for Reno, we are in the middle of a process of adopting an ADU ordinance. We have a draft that has been out since 2023. Our main concern, and we might be described as the problem for not having an ADU ordinance currently, but we're having that dialogue with our community, and we're concerned about the prescriptiveness and our ability to have to potentially go back to the drawing board with our community after we've done months of public input. So for that reason, we are opposed. We look forward to working with the bill sponsor and potentially getting to a point where we are neutral or can look at implementing some of the practices that she has looked at from other states. Thank you very much.
Hello, Ashley Kennedy, representing Clark County. We do appreciate the bill sponsor, Assemblywoman Backus, for meeting with us early on about this bill. In Clark County, we are opposed to the bill as written because we currently do have a process for ADUs, and we currently do it in our code. We outline the various requirements to have an additional ADU. For example, you can build an ADU on a lot that's 4,000 square feet, as long as the ADU is 75% of the gross floor area of the primary residence, and if you're on a 10,000 square foot lot or bigger, the ADU just has to be smaller than the primary residence. And as long as you meet the requirements outlined in our code, you don't even have to come to comp planning. You can just go to the building department and get your building permit and construct your ADU. The only time you have to go to comp planning is in the event that it's outside of our code, and that's at the point where we would go through the land use process. So since January 1 of 2022, we have approved over 350 ADUs, and of the over 350 that we have, 16 had to go through a land use process. However, earlier in late December, in January 1 of 2024, last year, we did update our Title 30, which is our code, to make ADUs more accessible and make the process a little bit easier. And since that process was implemented, of the 16 that had to go through the land use process, after we had made changes, 7 of those would not have been could have gone straight to a building permit. So we're opposed to the bill as written, and looking forward to working with the sponsor. And we just think that it creates a little bit more complexity to a process we've tried to make really hard, work hard to streamline. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. For the record, Cadence Matievich, representing Washoe County, CADENCEMATIJEVICH. We are here in opposition for some of the same reasons that you heard from my counterpart from Clark County, and that also you heard from Assemblymember Backus when she presented the bill. We do appreciate her meeting with us and hearing our concerns. Washoe County, we support her intent. We see ADUs as part of the solution to the housing supply problem that we have in our state. And in fact, in March of 2024, we adopted an ordinance to make it easier and faster to build an ADU in the unincorporated portions of our community. As you heard from the Assembly member, some of the provisions of her bill are actually more restrictive than what exists in our ordinance today, and so we wouldn't want to lose those. And then you also heard from her, and this is really important for us, that the applicability not include the portion of the Lake Tahoe Basin that's in Washoe County. As many of you know, there are significant land use limitations there, and so we treat that separately. So as amendments come forward, we look forward to seeing provisions for that, and then also allowances for communities that already have more allowable uses to remain in place. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola, members of the committee. For the record, David Cherry, Government Affairs Manager for the City of Henderson. First, I want to start by thanking the bill sponsor for allowing us to meet with her prior to today's hearing so that she could learn about the concerns the City of Henderson has with this bill. The City of Henderson has an existing ordinance that was carefully crafted with community input that allows for ADUs. AB 396 would sweep away this ordinance and replace it with a new process that could limit the voices of Henderson residents when it comes to decisions in their neighborhoods that could seriously affect their quality of life. We recognize the need for multiple housing options in our community, including ADUs, and we are addressing those in ways that reflect our community. AB 396 could dramatically impact some of Henderson's older neighborhoods, including rural preservation areas. Under this bill, for instance, a homeowner with neighbors who all choose to add 2 ADUs could suddenly have 6 or more families living next door, looking down from 2-story units only 5 feet from their own residence. Under AB 396, that resident would no longer have the same ability to participate in the planning process and to offer their input, as they currently do under the city's ordinance, which requires neighbors to be notified when someone requests a waiver for an ADU and allows everyone the chance to have their voices heard. We also have concerns about the ability for a local government to monitor compliance with the affordable housing requirements in the bill tied to second ADUs. I will close by offering this. AB 396 does not give local governments any authority we do not already possess. We can include all of the ADU provisions in AB 396 as part of our local ordinance, but we believe these choices should remain with cities and county governments whose leaders are also elected by the same residents that you represent. For these reasons, we oppose AB 396. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzullo and members of the committee. For the record, Kelly McNeil, MCNEIL, Executive Director of the Nevada League of Cities. Local governments have been good partners in working to address housing issues with local solutions that reflect the input of their community. And the League represents cities from the North, the South, and rural Nevada. Land use decisions should be done at the local level to reflect the unique nature of cities like Las Vegas, Sparks, or even Winnemucca. And for this reason, we are in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the committee. Maurice Washington, Legislative Liaison for AFP. We are opposed to the bill. We support the first half of the bill dealing with ADUs. The second half of the bill is where we have our problem, dealing with common interests and mandating insurance coverage. So we just want to say that we're in opposition to the bill.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone. I see you in Las Vegas already seated. Go ahead and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Marzola, and to the committee members. My name is Jill Douglas, Douglass. I actually live in Assembly 37. So while I appreciate the concern of my Assembly member, I would have to say that I am opposed to ADUs. While I'm also normally opposed to government overreach in this particular situation, I think restrictive ordinances do serve the residents to protect them from government overreach. And so based upon how Las Vegas has been built and existing communities, I would have to express concern about the potential impact on the neighborhood characteristics and infrastructure. And I worry about increased density from additional units that could strain existing public services and alter the aesthetics of established communities. I'm also concerned with the impact that a homeowner that might be thinking that this is a way to generate income might not realize that they might have difficulty with insurance because of the increased liability concerns. Also, the impact on the water district, as we're all restricted to 28 gallons a month. They may not realize what it might do to that. So for these reasons, I am very concerned and I am very opposed to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see anyone broadcast. Is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 396, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, everyone. I tried to call in for support, but it wouldn't let me do it.
That's fine.
Something wrong with that.
That's fine. We'll go ahead and move back to support momentarily. If you can please state and spell your name for the record.
I can go now?
You can. You may begin when you're ready.
Yes. Yes, CYRUSHOJJATY. I apologize. I'm getting my facial done right now. I support this bill, and from what I know, it makes it easier to build ADUs. I think this will really provide a lot of lower cost housing. I represent Strong Towns Las Vegas. I'm the local chapter leader of Strong Towns. We are trying to get more types of housing that goes through a lot of restrictions, such as ADUs, missing middle housing, such as duplexes, fourplexes, and so forth, mixed-use development. And we know that ADUs is very, very important. It allows entry-level housing to get in.
So as far as I know, this bill makes it a lot easier. We'd like to thank the sponsor, and although I do sympathize with the people who are definitely in concern. So other than that, and also there was another bill earlier about ADUs. Kudos to that. So I'm glad these issues are finally being addressed and can't wait to draft on those plans. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your support testimony. We will now move back to testimony in opposition. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 396, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? You may begin when you're ready.
Hi, Bill Brewer, B-R-E-W-E-R, with Nevada Real Housing Authority. We're here in neutral while we totally support the creation of additional housing units and love that portion of the bill. We're also very sensitive to the concerns of local communities that we've already heard here expressed today. If we could get those all squared away, we certainly could get to support on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 396. Please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral.
Thank you. Assemblymember, would you like to give any final remarks?
Thank you so much, Shay Backus, Representative Assembly District 37. I just want to say thank you guys for your time. As you can tell, we're continuing to work on this bill. There's a lot of things to kind of try to iron out, but I thank you guys for hearing it. So have a great day.
Thank you for being with us this afternoon. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 396. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 241, which revises provisions relating to housing. I will give Vice Chair a couple of minutes. Once you're all set up, Vice Chair, you may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Sandra Howdigi, and I represent Assembly District 41. I'm proud to be here today to bring forward Assembly Bill 241. Nevada is facing a severe housing shortage, and this shortfall has led to skyrocketing rents and home prices, making it increasingly difficult for working families, young professionals, and retirees to find affordable housing. According to a study by Applied Analysis and the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association, we have approximately 8 years left of land in Southern Nevada to build on. We are not only in a housing supply shortage, but also in a land shortage. I know through my work on housing issues that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to solving the affordability and housing epidemic, which is why I'm working on various bills that deal with protecting seniors, a resolution to urge Congress to pass the lands bill, and Assembly Bill 241, which you have before you to open up more buildable land for multifamily dwellings in rundown, underutilized retail and commercial lots. The data shows that Nevada's workforce mainly lives in apartments because that is what's most attainable, given our tight supply. Some quick facts for you. One, in Las Vegas alone, rents have surged by over 40% in the past 5 years. Two, Reno has experienced a notable increase in rental prices. In 2020, the average apartment rent in the Reno Sparks area was approximately $1,680. As of February 2025, the average rent for an apartment in Reno stands at $1,831. Three, homeownership is also becoming unattainable for many, with median home prices hovering around $450,000, far outpacing wage growth. Four, according to Zillow, you needed to make at least $120,000 per year to afford a mortgage in 2024. And last, nearly 1 in 4 Nevada renters spends more than 50% of their income on housing, placing them at risk of financial instability. Chair and committee members, to combat this national housing supply shortage, state governments as well as local governments in cities and counties larger and smaller than ours are mandating changes to their zoning laws. Montana lawmakers in 2023 passed a suite of bills known as the Montana Miracle. The bills included the Land Use Planning Act, which required various changes to local planning and zoning process. Another bill, Senate Bill 323, required that municipalities of a certain population allow duplexes in single-family zones. A third, Senate Bill 528, required all cities to allow accessory dwelling units. And last, Senate Bill 245, which required local governments with a population of 5,000 or more to allow for mixed use and multifamily dwellings in commercial areas. And thus, Assembly Bill 241 was born. I looked at how other states were tackling housing and found an opportunity in Montana's Senate Bill 245. I immediately thought of that old, rundown, vacant, and abandoned Kmart on Spring Mountain that's been sitting there vacant for so long, and thought, what a great opportunity for a multifamily development near shopping and near transportation. Rezoning commercial property for multifamily housing is a practical and immediate solution to increase housing supply and address affordability issues. And there are benefits to infill development. Many commercial properties, particularly aging strip malls and vacant office buildings, are underutilized. Repurposing them for housing makes better use of existing infrastructure, building homes closer to jobs, schools, and public transit, reduces commute times, lowers greenhouse gas emissions, and decreases urban sprawl. Madam Chair, with your permission, I would now like to turn it over to Jen Lewis with the Nevada Multifamily Allowance, who agreed to be here to help me answer questions from the committee, but I have asked her to say a few words. The Nevada Multifamily Alliance is a group of 6 apartment developers who have built and owned and now manage more than 20,000 units across Nevada.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Jennifer Lewis, Jenniffer Lewis, Lewis. I'm pleased to be here to support the bill. Zoning reform can seem like a big topic. Land use underpins our entire economy, and housing our current and future citizens and growing our economy. Currently, 66.2% of Nevada residents live in single-family units. Just 21.4% live in complexes of over 5 units. This pattern is not sustainable with Nevada's land constraints. In 2023, the American Planning Association tracked at least 11 state legislatures that were involved in reworking zoning laws. The housing crisis impacts every part of our state, from education, employment, and future growth. To me, this is actually a redevelopment and infill bill. I think all of us in the room see underutilized or abandoned retail or commercial corners that are not likely to develop. These are often well-located centers with good transportation and other infrastructure where the actual uses just are currently economically obsolescent. The retail and office landscape has changed significantly since COVID, and many retailers are closing up shop. We see this in the empty buildings even closer to home at Carson and College, or Green Valley and Warm Springs and Henderson, Spring Mountain and Rainbow. We see a lot of just infeasible retail that's never going to develop. We see it along our corridors, well located, but not feasible mid-block sites. In 2024, the Gwynn Center undertook a study on housing affordability. The goal was to create a list of plausible policy solutions. In order to address the supply, redevelopment and pursuing zoning reform are both at the top of their list of suggestions. This bill offers us a way to offer more missing middle on smaller parcels with duplexes or triplexes. We know we are running out of land and we need to grow in new and more efficient ways. Multifamily, whether it be apartments, townhomes, condos, or other product, is workforce housing. In the bill, the cities would go and counties would go ahead and draft an ordinance. And I do agree that there should be some kind of nuance to what goes on, because certainly there are places where there is commercial where housing is not appropriate. We know there's airport environs. We know there's noxious uses where housing is not compliant. So there would need to be some kind of nuance for the cities to determine that. And somewhat, with the kind of the massing of it, because certainly you're not going to wedge 50 apartments on an acre in a rural scenario. But we know that this is still a good bill because, again, there's a lot of infeasible commercial, and we need to learn to build more efficiently.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now, with your permission, I would like to walk the committee through the amendment, which is the bill in its entirety. So the amendment replaces the bill. The amendment has one section, and it does one thing. It requires local governments to rezone upon request any commercial property to multifamily or mixed use. And we're ready for questions.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation and for bringing such an important issue to light. Committee members, are there any questions? Assemblymember O'Neill.
Oops. Thank you, Chair. I just want to make sure I'm clear and understand it. The bill will just, in your amendment, authorize a county to allow the building on commercial property. It doesn't, is there any restrictions where commercial property, you have a denial process and call it an expedited denial. Can you sort of explain that to me? Because I don't know Clark County at all, to be honest, when you mentioned this Kmart, but we have property here or out in even some of the rural parts of Nevada. Commercial land is more expensive, I understand, first of all, so why would I want to build on commercial land when I can find other zoning areas? And so I'm just curious, it doesn't force the county to do it or to allow the activity, if I understand correctly, but it does talk about a expedited denial process.
I'm going to take the first part of your question, Assemblymember PK O'Neill, Sandra Howdigi for the record, and then I am going to let my co-presenter answer the second part about why a developer would want to build on commercial lands. So my amendment is the intent of the amendment is to say that if someone purchases a commercial lot with the intent of building multifamily, that it has to be approved by local governments. I understand that there is going to be some necessary changes to it because, again, as my co-presenter mentioned, there is commercial property where we can't build because of, for example, its proximity to close to airports. But in areas where there are no strict regulations saying you can't have residential developments, then my intent for the amendment is to make sure that upon request from a property owner that the commercial property is rezoned. And then I'm going to let my co-presenter take the second portion about why would somebody want to build on commercial land.
At least I can acknowledge in Jennifer Lewis. I guess in my world, the commercial land no longer is the most expensive land. There's a lot of variables to it, certainly, but there's a lot of kind of abandoned retail that, because it's not viable for retail anymore. There just aren't, certainly we're losing a lot of big box tenants. There's a lot of office that people aren't going back to work that way. So the land sort of has adjusted in price a little bit. In the past, certainly the retail hard corners would be the most popular and desirable corners. There's also a lot of retail that's mid-block that it was zoned that way ages ago in fits of optimism, I think, and it's not going to go retail because there just aren't that many tenants left to go in a lot of these places.
Does it force me to sell if I own commercial land, like you said, the Kmart, I don't know who owns it, but I'm sure it's owned by a person or individual company. it doesn't force them to give it up. They can sit there with that empty lot as long as they want, if I understand, correct?
Assemblymember Sandra Howdiggy for the record. Assemblymember PK O'Neill, that is correct. It's a private sale. It's a seller can sell to whoever they want to sell to. And who the buyer is, that buyer should be able to build commercial or build residential to meet our housing needs.
I appreciate it. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I understood it correctly. Thank you, Chair.
Assemblymember Miller.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Assemblymember, for bringing this forward. And so under Section 1, when the bill refers to mixed-use development, so I'm interpreting that to mean that the builders could choose to have some commercial, some residential. I would just like to clarify, it doesn't seem, but, you know, always preparing for unintended consequences. When, before I moved to Nevada and our community was going through dramatic growth, they actually started building mixed-use structures. So kind of modeling what we see in older major downtowns where the businesses are, you know, below on the ground level and the above floors have become residential. And oftentimes the owners and families lived upstairs and they ran their business downstairs. So they actually created a community that modeled that structure so that the bottom floor of basically what would appear to be townhouses could be used for professional offices, their private businesses. There were some restrictions to the type of business, or they could just use the entire unit as residential. And I thought that was a great opportunity with so many small business owners or so many people working from home, especially these days. So I just wanted to ensure that if our builders did get creative in that way, there's nothing that restricts this, and that definition of mixed use could also include that entire structure. If that was a question you were even prepared for.
I think that this bill would, because to me it seems like you could do the multifamily commercial just be kind of married together. And that is a standard and oh wait, Jennifer Lewis, I forgot about that part. But I think that is a very standard, kind of a newer trend we're seeing in land planning. And so I think that this would still allow for that. And I think that's something we should be encouraging.
Speaker Yeager.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Majority Leader, for your bill. You speak very fast sometimes, and so I wanted to ask if you could repeat the Montana miracle bills that you talked about, because my interest was piqued. Number one, because Montana politically is a very different state from Nevada, and so if you could just maybe go through those again quickly and maybe a little bit more slowly so I can take notes. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Speaker Yeager. Assemblymember Sandra Howdiggy, for the record, Madam Chair. Yes, and it was great what they did. There was actually 5 bills, and I think I only listed off 4. But yeah, their governor did a national tour talking about how he addressed housing in his state. But yes, in 2023, the Montana lawmakers passed a suite of bills known as the Montana Miracle. The bills included the Land Use Planning Act, which required various changes to local planning and zoning processes. Another law, Senate Bill 323, required that municipalities of certain population allow duplexes in single-family zones. A third bill, Senate Bill 528, required all cities to allow accessory dwelling units. And last, Senate Bill 245 required local governments with a population of 5,000 or more to allow mixed use and multifamily dwellings in commercial areas.
Thank you, Majority Leader, and thank you, Chair.
Assemblymember Urick.
Thank you, Chair. And my question is really just a point of clarification that I think is a subtle but significant difference. So in the amendment that you proposed and what we're doing, is it going to just require the local jurisdictions to permit multi-housing development on a commercial zone property, or does it actually require them to change the zoning from commercial to multi-housing?
what the intent of the bill is, and I took a stab at drafting my own amendment, and I should have probably asked Mr. Koss for help. But the intent of the bill is that if a buyer purchases a commercial property and wants it rezoned, that they rezone the property upon request. So it doesn't automatically rezone all commercial property, but it requires the local governments to come up with ordinances by October 1st, 2026, that upon request by a property owner, the land be rezoned for multifamily or mixed use.
And that's exactly what I got, but I'm just trying to clarify, and maybe I'm not being clear. The difference is, would it just, if they request to just build multi-housing on commercial, or would it actually require that the zone to be changed from commercial to multi-housing? Does that make sense?
So it would have to be rezoned to multifamily because they can't build if it's zoned commercial, but so it just eliminates the lengthy process of the rezoning.
Thank you. Committee members, any additional questions? I don't see any. So just to clarify, so make sure I'm not confused. We have a commercial property who, if I'm the owner, I can request it to be used for mixed-use development. I don't have to, but I can request it, correct? And if I don't, it stays as a commercial property. Is that correct? Okay, just wanted to clarify it. Thank you. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett.
Thank you, and thank you for this bill. My question would be, if it is then switched over kind of to a commercial, from commercial to residential or mixed use, will it stay that way if that property is sold in the future?
My intent is for it to be able to be used for commercial, mixed use, or multifamily.
I don't see any additional questions, so we will take testimony in support of Assembly Bill 241. Just want to remind everyone that we will take 30 minutes of support testimony, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes in Las Vegas, and 10 minutes over the phone. Is there anyone here in Carson City that wishes to testify in support to Assembly Bill 241? I don't. Oh. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Mindy Elliott, MENDY-ELLIOTT, today representing the Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority. And as we heard, this bill provides flexibility for the seller of the land, and of greater importance, it provides flexibility for additional affordable housing, mixed use. I always think of New York and San Francisco and businesses that are on the lower level and the families are living above. And certainly the Montana Miracle is something that we have been tracking since inception. And for that reason, more housing is, more options are good. So thank you very much. We appreciate the bill sponsor, and we hope you like the bill too.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tristan St. Dennis. That's TRYSTINST.DENIS. I am the Policy Associate with the Nevada Conservation League. We're here in strong support for AB 241, a bill that we think will take an essential step to encouraging infill development across the state. Recent polling confirms that over 75% of Nevadans support using existing underutilized lands and infill development for housing rather than selling our treasured public lands. Infill offers numerous environmental benefits, including reducing urban sprawl and preserving natural landscapes. At the same time, it can help lower emissions and reduce traffic congestion. We urge the committee to support this bill, and thank you for your time.
Whoever's next may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll go next while my good friend is working on his computer. My name is Maurice Washington. I represent AFP, Legislative Liaison, and we're definitely in support of this bill. We believe that it's a good piece of legislation that will help us to answer the housing crisis in Washoe County. And we've seen land or buildings that are not in use now, and we think this will aid and assist us in developing those properties for good purposes.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the record, John Sandy, John Sande, here today on behalf of the Nevada State Apartment Association. My iPad literally just went dark like seconds before you called me, so thank you for stepping in. But I did want to say that Nevada's facing a serious housing shortage, and more than half of our renters are cost burdened, spending over 30% of their income on rent. The single most effective way to reduce housing costs is to increase housing supply. AB 241 helps to do exactly that by requiring local governments to allow multifamily and mixed-use housing on commercially zoned land. This bill unlocks new opportunities for housing without expanding urban sprawl. It streamlines the approval process, making it faster and more feasible to build where infrastructure already exists. This type of policy doesn't just improve affordability, it helps revitalize underused commercial areas and support walkable, vibrant communities. In short, AB 241 is smart land use policy with immediate long-term benefits. And for those of you who are familiar with North Reno, I lived there a long time. There was a Kmart right off of Summit there, and it sat vacant for a long time. And some young developers, actually friends of mine from high school, were able to develop that into a multi-use area, and it looks fabulous there, right off the freeway. And so, would be excited for some of these big box stores to find a second use. So, thank you. Look forward to you supporting this. Thanks.
Reverend Paul Larson, Paul, P-A-U-L-L-A-R-S-O-N, Advocacy Director for Lutheran Engagement and Advocacy in Nevada. On behalf of Lutherans across Nevada, LEAN supports AB 241. We see the need to get creative and flexible and to address our housing insecurity here.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Don't see anyone in Las Vegas. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the Commerce and Labor Committee. My name is Azim Jessa, A-Z-I-M-J-E-S-S-A, and I'm the Legislative Chair for the Nevada Realtors, and I'm here in support of AB 241. We want to thank the Majority Leader for bringing this forward. Nevada has a housing shortage issue. We've heard that countless times today. Proposals such as this, which open commercially zoned areas to be considered for multifamily and mixed-use developments, will help address some of those supply issues. Forward-thinking proposals such as this are what we need to address the current housing shortage, and we want to again thank the Majority Leader for bringing this forward, and we ask that everyone here supports AB 241. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Testify in support for Assembly Bill 241. Please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you wish to testify in support, please press star 9.
Hi, my name is Ron Ariel, A-R-Y-E-L, for the record. I'm supporting this really outstanding bill. I'd like to put a medal around the necks of the bill sponsor and the Majority Leader for bringing this bill forward. Thank you so much for this really outstanding bill. This is going to help with housing. This is going to create walkable communities where you live and walk to shopping and walk to the other things that you need. It's going to help public transportation to serve the community much better. It's going to create housing at better price points to relieve the housing shortages, and it'll help us fight sprawl. No need to take pristine land and turn it into subdivisions when you can repurpose communities like this. I've lived in places where I lived on the 4th floor, and on the 1st floor there was a supermarket or a candy store or a dry cleaner, and I think it's just a fabulous idea. So thank you very much for this outstanding bill, and I urge everyone to vote for it. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. Excuse me. Good afternoon. This is Assemblywoman, former Assemblywoman Claire Thomas, and I am calling to give my full support of AB 241. This support will energize the community that we right now see that we either have commercial zoning or residential zoning. To have shared zoning will actually help in forwarding affordable housing for our constituents that live in throughout the southern Nevada area, specifically in North Las Vegas. And I think this is something that has come, and it should be applauded. And I fully support AB 241, and I thank the sponsor for bringing this forward. This is good governance. Thank you so much.
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 241. Is there anyone here in Carson City? Please remember to state and spell your name. You have 2 minutes each.
Thank you, Chair. Warren Hardy, W-A-R-R-E-N, Hardy, H-A-R-D-Y. I find myself here today as an unhappy victim of the committee rules. We came intending to support, and then some questions arose during the hearing that we just want to get some clarification on. I represent the Nevada Urban Consortium. We are big fans of mixed-use development. Our councils and our staff are moving aggressively in that direction and providing those types of product to our citizens. So we're in full support of the concept that we're here. We just have a couple of questions for the leader based on some of the questions that arose during the hearing. But we're in support of the concept. I'm sure we're going to work through those things. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Vincent Guthrow. Last name is spelled G-U-T-H-R-E-A-U. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Counties. We are the statewide association representing Nevada's counties. Just a couple of things that I want to get on the record. We appreciate the sponsor meeting with us and our members, and you'll hear from some of our individual jurisdictions on their perspective. And I agree with one of the presenters that each, there are unique areas, unique neighborhoods, and having an automatic where we sort of what I would call usurp the public process and allow for automatic multifamily is something that our members are a little bit uncomfortable with. And we also share the vision of the sponsor around increasing our housing stock. I just think that our members, I believe that usurping that local perspective is problematic for us. We'll continue to work on it and get it into a different place, hopefully. I think one thing for our folks, we believe the public process is important at the local level because we actually think it can make projects better, and we appreciate that process. So we are here in opposition, but look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you.
Hello, members of the committee. Ashley Kennedy. Sorry for not spelling my name earlier. Ashley Kennedy. I represent Clark County. I want to thank the Majority Leader for meeting with the local jurisdictions to discuss the bill. With the amended version that was discussed today, we are still in opposition. Clark County supports infill development and mixed use. We currently allow a builder to build multifamily housing or mixed use in commercially zoned areas with a special use permit. We currently, since January 1 of 2022, we have not denied any application for a multifamily project. Of the 39 that we have approved, 21 of those applications were in commercially zoned areas. However, we want the local flexibility and authority to be able to, there are some commercial areas where multifamily or mixed use may not be appropriate, and we want the ability at the local level to determine that and to manage that accordingly. Thank you, and we will continue working with the bill proponent.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzullo, members of the committee. For the record, Cadence Matievich with Washoe County, CADENCEMATIJEVICH. Washoe County does support efforts to increase the supply of housing in the state, and we appreciate the Majority Leader for making time to meet with us to hear our concerns on this bill. I would concur with the comments of my counterpart from Clark County, but also have a different perspective that I'd like to ask you to consider. We do think that this bill could have some unintended consequences. There's been a lot of discussion today about infill development, but we haven't talked about commercially zoned properties that are still being held for new developments. And for context, in Washoe County, we currently have 78,000 approved but unbuilt housing units. And as the member of the committee know, NRS 278.150 provides for preparation and adoption by local planning commissions of comprehensive long-term general plans for the physical development of their respective community. In planning for new neighborhoods and communities, certain lands are designated as commercial to ensure that there are sufficient services available to support the daily needs of the residents of those communities. By ensuring that that land's available for essential uses such as grocery stores, restaurants, coffee shops, bookstores, and other retailers, these plans provide for livable communities where these essential services are easily accessible, ideally even walkable. AB 241 has the potential to upset the balance of land use in our community, which is admittedly a delicate one, by requiring that land that was designated as commercial to ensure access to essential services be used instead for multifamily housing developments. Again, we support the intent of the bill and look forward to working with the sponsor on amendments that can bridge those gaps. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. For the record, Kelly McNeil, that's McNeil, Executive Director of the Nevada League of Cities. We're grateful for the conversations that the municipalities have had with the bill sponsor. I'd like to echo the questions that the municipalities have raised. And for this reason, the League is looking forward to working through this with the bill sponsor. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to testify in opposition? Is there anyone? You may begin when you're ready in Las Vegas.
I thank you, Chair Marzola, and to the committee. My name is Jill Douglas, Douglass. I am in opposition to this bill, and I would echo the previous oppositional testimony and feel like special use permits might be better for this type purposes, because I do think the intent is good. When you say any commercial causes me some concern. So I am expressing concern about the bill's impact on existing zoning laws and community planning which has been done with the input of those local residents that are most impacted. So I worry about state mandated changes that may override local control and lead to developments that are possibly inconsistent with the community character or infrastructure capacity of our older neighborhoods. Additionally, I have apprehensions about the public strain on public services and resources resulting from increased population density in areas originally designated for commercial use. So I just hope that we, as you progress through this process, it is very critical for stakeholders, including local governments, developers, and community members, to engage in a balanced discussion. And I would also say that I think it's important that permitting processes in general have to be streamlined for developers, as they've gone from 12 months to 24 months to 36 months before they can even start a building process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 241, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I pressed for support and it didn't call my name, so
no,
it's not working.
No problem. We will move back to support testimony. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Great pleasure, everybody. My name is Cyrus Hojati, Cyrus. I am the local chapter leader of Strong Towns Las Vegas. We're an organization that's committed to deliver alternatives to modern urban planning, also known as sprawl. We support this bill because it makes it easier for mixed use and multifamily infill development. And we support all sorts of development, whether it's outward, inward, a low-density single-family detached. We want to make things more flexible. This will reduce costs, mixed use. It will make travel, commute times more efficient. It will likely improve the character of neighborhoods because when you go to these old historic centers and main streets or whatever, you know what I'm talking about, increased charm. We just have to make sure that these new infill projects are going to be compatible within the neighborhood. So you have a building that looks like a villa but has shops below, housing above. This will also increase multifamily. We need lots of missing middle housing, row houses, fourplexes, the list goes on. Encourage pedestrian life, biking, mass transit. Oh, yes. However, we have to make sure that these arterial routes, these 6-laners, 45-mile-an-hour zones like Silverado Ranch or Eastern or whatever is in Sandra's district, those are the problem. So all of these aspects need to come together. By the way, right now I'm in Charleston and Valley View. There's tremendous opportunity. There's commercial by Charleston, residential very close, very underutilized. I just want to say thank you so much. And let me tell you something, even though the sponsor doesn't like to come next to me for some odd reason, I always knew there's something we strongly agree on.
Thank you for your support testimony. Broadcast, can we please move back to testimony in opposition? Is there anyone on the line?
Hi, pardon for my voice. Katrin Ivanov, and I'm in opposition of the bill as presented. I love the intent of the bill, but I think it's not very well drafted. They need to fix some things because what does it mean for them mandatory to approve it? Why do we have local municipalities and local councils and local people if you guys are going to take their power away and they're just going to be there just stamping things and just getting paychecks? That makes no sense. I understand that. I think there should be some kind of way to ask for permits, and after considerations, you either get it or not, but just blankly approve everything that comes in front of them. Why do you even need to have that organization? Oh, I apologize because I'm not feeling well today. So it may not sound very logical or well drafted, but I love the intent. I think we should have something like that, but after this is rewritten and not ignoring the local authorities' power or diminishing it, because we can get to the local people faster. Thank you and have a nice day.
Ma'am, can you please state your name again and spell it for the record?
Okay, I'll try again because it's hard to talk. Katrin, like Hurricane Katrina, no A at the end. And Ivanov, I, V as a Victor, I, N as in Nancy, O, Frank.
Thank you, and thank you for your testimony today. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line wishing to testify in opposition?
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 241, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 241? I don't see anyone walking up. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 241, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral.
Majority Leader, would you like to give any closing remarks?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm going to take this opportunity to give closing remarks since I will be your next presenter and have to be seated here. But Nevada cannot afford to let outdated zoning laws and people who oppose density continue to be the reason we are stalling housing production. The opposition talks about the unintended consequences, but let's not lose focus of the intended consequences. More supply equals more affordability. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And thank you for bringing this bill forward. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 241. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 280, which revises provisions relating to housing. Welcome back.
It was a short walk. Good afternoon, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. I'm Sandra Howdigi, and I'm proud to be here today to present Assembly Bill 280. Housing affordability has become one of the most pressing issues in our state. This is particularly true for our seniors and those on fixed incomes. Many seniors live on fixed incomes derived from sources such as Social Security benefits, pensions, or retirement savings. These income streams often do not keep pace with the rising cost of living, particularly escalating housing expenses. Many rely on a single unexpected rent hike can mean the difference between staying in a home or facing eviction. Assembly Bill 280 can protect seniors from sudden and unaffordable rent hikes, ensuring they can allocate their limited resources to other essential needs like health care and nutrition. Studies have shown that unaffordable rent burdens force older adults to cut back on health care, food, and other basic necessities, negatively affecting their overall health. Nevada is home to thousands of seniors who have worked their entire lives to contribute to our communities. Assembly Bill 280, a crucial pilot program, one that seeks to provide stability, dignity, and security to Nevada's senior citizens. This bill allows us to assess the program's effectiveness in ensuring affordability without long-term commitments and while balancing industry concerns. The opposition will argue that this program discourages investment in rental properties and development. However, research shows that reasonable policies like this pilot program can coexist with healthy rental markets while protecting the most vulnerable members of our community. Additionally, this program is temporary. If challenges arise, as the opposition suggests, we can adjust or reconsider it. The key is that we take action now, rather than allowing seniors and those on fixed incomes to continue suffering, face eviction, or end up homeless. Chair, I would now like to turn it over to my co-presenter to make a few remarks, then I will walk the committee through the bill.
Chair, members of the committee, Jonathan Norman with the Nevada Coalition of Legal Service Providers, NORMAN. We have 4 legal aids in the state that are on the front lines of anything from evictions, anything housing related. So we see the consequences for seniors and adults with disabilities as they face eviction and face rising rents that they can't afford on their fixed incomes. The bill is doing 3 basic things. We're regulating application fees. That came from pre-2023 session discussions with folks who are having not only application fees for the adults living in who applying, but for all the minor children. They were being charged $50 for each person. I don't know what background check you're running on a minor. And some landlords use it as a way to generate income. And then transparency, so making sure that tenants know what they're signing up for from the beginning and know what the costs will be. And finally, as the majority leader mentioned, the rent cap.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would now like to walk the committee through the bill. Section 1 deals with returning any fees to applicants who applied for a unit but were never screened. If 10 applications come in for 1 unit and the first application is taken, then the fees for the other 9 would have to be returned. Any hard costs would not be required to be returned. Section 2 adds 2 appendixes to the end of the lease. 1 outlining all fees that can be charged, and the second with a Know Your Rights section. Section 3 creates the rent stabilization program for seniors and those on disability with a cap of 10%. We are now open for questions.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any questions? I don't see any. I just have a question for clarification. You stated earlier in the presentation that if you receive, we'll just use $50 for the first applicant, you have to refund the remainder? Is that what you stated?
So what the Section 1 does in the bill, and the reason I added they don't have to return hard costs is if I am a property manager and I receive 10 applications to rent one of my units, and I take the first application and say there was a $50 background check fee and a $50 credit report fee, and that's $100, and I received $1,000, right? And I took the very first application without ever running a background check or a credit report fee on the remaining 9, then I have to return the money to the applicants who I didn't screen. And this actually came from somebody who was going and applying for units, and they had gone through like 10 applications, and property managers had kept every single credit report and background check fee. And so they were in $1,000 in just application fees without ever having received a unit. And I met with local property managers and people who represent the industry. And they said, some of them do like automatically screen people when, if they receive 10 applications, they go to a service that automatically, like as soon as they hit submit, the background check and credit report are pulled. And in that case, I want to make sure that if those costs were incurred, that those costs don't have to be returned.
So I have a follow-up then. How do I know if I'm number 8, if I was automatically screened or not?
As an applicant, you wouldn't, but the law says that they have to return it, so that property manager or property owner would be in violation of the law if they do not. I'm going to turn it over to my co-presenter to see if he needs to add anything or would like to add anything.
Jonathan Norman, for the record, I'm having flashbacks to 2023 because we didn't have a great answer then, and I don't know that we have a great answer now. We're relying on property managers to be ethical and to follow the law. There is no way to peer beyond that and know I didn't get run, and we don't have a mechanism for that in this bill or in the law.
Thank you for that clarification. AB 280 is the same bill that you brought in 2023. I believe it was AB 298. Is that correct?
Assemblymember Sandra Haudegi, for the record. Yes, Madam Chair.
And can you tell us what happened with that bill?
Assembly Bill 298 was vetoed by the governor.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any additional questions? Assemblymember Cole.
So this is probably a technical question. I know I'm famous for those at this point. So in Section 3, all of that language appears to me as a new legislator to be existing language and not being changed just because of the way that it's written. It's not in italics, it's not in blue. So can you explain to me why?
I'm Assemblymember Sandra Haudegi, for the record. I'm going to turn it over to legal, but it's session law. It's not permanently changing the NRS, which is why it's not in blue italics. I will let our legal weigh in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sam Quas, Committee Counsel. When language is added into bills that will not be codified into the NRS because it is a temporary measure, that shows up as existing, that shows up as black language rather than blue language. And those provisions will be found at the end of the bill.
Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Committee members, any additional questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Chair. I got distracted. Is there anything in this piece of legislation that would prevent them from just screening all of the applicants immediately upon receipt? And I don't know what the current process is when landlords are receiving these applications, but is there anything that would prevent them from just screening all 10 applicants at the same time so as to use the fee? That way they can keep that fee?
So I've spoken with Assemblymember Sandra Howdigi, for the record. I have spoken with industry professionals and property managers in our state, and some of them do that. Some of them because they hire third parties to run background checks and credit reports. When those applications are electronically submitted, they are automatically run. So there is existing people who do that, and they do that just because then they get in and they see all the applications, and so we're allowing them to keep their hard costs. So if they did run that credit report or they did run that background check, then they shouldn't have to refund that, but say there's a miscellaneous fee, an application fee or something, or that didn't get run, or maybe just the background report's run and not the credit report, they would have to return that.
And with that, I don't think we have any other questions. We will move to testimony in support of Assembly Bill 280. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in support? Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Carlos Hernandez, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO. We are in full support of the bill. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Mark Ellis, President of Communication Workers of America, Local 9413, ditto.
Good afternoon, Bill Brewer, BREWER, Chair, Executive Director for Nevada Rural Housing. We support the bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Everyone's being short and sweet today. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in support? I don't see anyone. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in support to Assembly Bill 280? I don't see anyone walking up. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 280, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, my name is Paula Luna, Paula-Luna, and I am the Deputy Director of Battleborn Progress, and we are calling in support of 280. Thank you so much.
Hi. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Brian Harris, BrianHarris, and I'm a community member calling in support of AB 280. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Tammy Romo, Tamiromo. I'm actually calling in agreement. I support this bill. I believe that oftentimes that property managers do tend to take advantage of renters, and especially during our COVID period when they were not getting paid rent and people were losing their jobs left and right, they did find other ways to obtain income to stay afloat themselves. So yes, I definitely believe that there should be a cap on everything. As far as the background checks go, I believe that it should be handled as if we are applying for a job. They pick their top 3 people that they like and they would like to rent to, and then they run the background checks on them. They let those people know, you're one of my top 3, we're gonna run the background checks. And everybody else that applies, you would let them know, okay, they're on the waiting list. If something happens with the first 3 people and they don't get approved with the background check, we'll go ahead and run your background check. And if we don't run your background check, then we'll give you the monies back. So oftentimes when, as an applicant, you have your credit report ran several times, which we know that affects us negatively, and I don't know how bad the background check affects us. I don't think it really does, but it's just unnecessary time and effort put out by anybody that doesn't need to be done if they're not going to be qualified to get into the unit anyways. So I think that's the perfect way to handle it. So again, I go ahead and support this bill, and you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Caller with the last three digits 217, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
My name is Kim Renee. I'm the president of Nevada SAG-AFTRA. I strongly urge you to support AB 280. 260. Thank you very much.
Hi, Mike. Good morning, Chair and member of the committee. For the record, or good afternoon. My name is Clarissa Prince. Local citizen. I kindly urge the committee to support AB 280. Thank you.
CYRUSHOJJATY, Cyrus Hojati. I will support the bill, and I will ditto the previous comments. Thank you so much.
If you have recently joined and would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 280, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in support.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 280. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition?
Do you want me to go first? All right, good morning. Good afternoon again, Chair Marzola and members of the committee. My name is Azim Jessa, AZIMJESSA, and I'm the Legislative Committee Chairperson for the Nevada Realtors. Although we supported this measure in a previous session, after careful review and with the benefit of hindsight and actual market statistics, we now firmly oppose Section 3 in this proposed legislation. While AB 280 is aimed at protecting tenants and Sections 1 and 2 add necessary clarity, the rent control portion will most certainly harm those it aims to protect. During the early months of the pandemic, government, as well as many private organizations, made decisions under the stress and strain of unprecedented economic uncertainty. One such decision was the Realtors agreeing in 2022 to a sunsetting program that would be in effect from July 23 to December of 24 that would enact 10% rent caps on the same population described in this current bill. Fortunately, the governor vetoed that bill because during that same time frame, Las Vegas Realtors MLS statistics show that the average rental price for a single-family home dropped 5.9%. Sierra Nevada MLS, which includes Washoe County, showed a 9.5% decrease for that same time frame for single-family residences. If this bill was passed, seniors would have most likely seen a 10% increase in rent instead of the 5.9 and 9.5% decrease the market enacted on its own. Please let me repeat that. Left alone, the market rate for single-family homes decreased 5.9 and 9.5% without any sort of rent or price control. Another concern we have is enacting rent control on a sliver of the population may cause landlords to choose other applicants instead. This would leave seniors in a worse position than they would have been without the protections of the bill that the bill is purported to provide. We're hearing these concerns firsthand. The Nevada Realtors firmly believe the best and most efficient pathway to housing affordability is increasing supply, as AB 241, which we just talked about, will certainly do. A recent report out of Austin, Texas showed rents have dropped 22% since the peak during COVID, and that's almost exclusively been attributed to the 50,000 unit increase in apartment inventory. The Nevada Realtors will continue to be good partners in the fight for attainable housing, but we believe Section 3 of this bill will not help. We urge you to oppose AB 280 as written. Thank you for your time today.
I will now come back to Carson City, where we started. You may begin when you're ready.
Madam Chair, thank you. Sorry for the confusion. For the record, John Sandy, Johnsande, here today on behalf of the Nevada State Apartment Association. Want to applaud the Majority Leader's efforts in trying to attack housing affordability. And we do support most components of this bill. However, we also, along with the realtors, do oppose rent control. I don't want to belabor it. I think the realtors did a great job summarizing our concerns. I think there's been an abundant amount of research that has shown that rent control overall diminishes supply. It does not lead to good outcomes as far as landlords investing in their properties and has negative consequences on neighborhoods. So we will be opposed to that part, but do appreciate the Majority Leader's efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition? I don't see any. Ma'am, you may begin when you're ready. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Marzola and the committee. My name is Jill Douglas. I just want to voice my opposition to AB 280. While there may be some merit to some of the fees mentioned in this bill, this is a rent control bill. We cannot in one bill say that we need housing and it's a supply and demand issue, while then we turn around and we want to pass a rent control bill. So I think this would adversely affect the supply and demand that we need to keep rents lower. I would argue that the bill imposes additional financial and administrative burdens, potentially affecting operational efficiency and profitability. And I would express apprehension that the regulations may discourage investment in rental properties or lead to increased costs for tenants in other areas. And I would contend that capping rent increases, even temporarily, could interfere with the market dynamics and potentially lead to housing shortages or reduce maintenance of existing units. So I would ask you to oppose AB 280 as written. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to testify in opposition? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 280, please press *9 to take your place in the queue.
Hi, my name is Ryan Ariel, A-R-Y-E-L, for the record. I am opposed to AB 280. First of all, there's that rent control problem that rears its ugly head again. Rent control in Nevada, especially in combination with single-family home zoning, will benefit largely white and middle to upper middle-class families, not the families that you wanted to benefit. Families of color, minorities will suffer under this and will not benefit at all. Secondly, you'll destroy the housing market, reduce incentives to build more housing. This is the part of the bill that's I think intended for extremists in the Democratic Party. And as to the other measures, I think micromanaging leasing agents and micromanaging property managers is not really appropriate. There's a whole prescription here for what's supposed to go on to a lease agreement or not. I think current lease agreements are pretty good at describing what a tenant has to do and what a property manager has to do, and I think we should stick to that. The legislature should not be substituting its own formulas for professional managers who have discretion and can best serve tenants. Definitely opposed to this. I'm going to ask the governor to veto it. Thank you.
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. We will move to testimony in neutral. Is there anyone in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 280? That's okay. Please remember to state and spell your name for the records.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Ben Innes. That is B-E-N-I-N-E-S-S. I'm the coalition manager for the Nevada Housing Justice Alliance. We're a statewide coalition of tenant organizers and advocates, also here in Carson City today for Housing Day. I want to thank Assemblymember Majority Leader Howdigi for bringing this bill neutral because I guess despite what some folks say, it's not extremist enough. I think 10% is a high cap and could be much more aggressive and effective. And in terms of scope and applicability, would love to see it be applied to all Nevadans. I think some of us might think about maybe our grandparents that need those protections to make sure they're not exploited, of course, on a fixed income or disability, et cetera. But what about the rest of their families? Young students, part-time workers, I don't know, the list would go on and on. And so that is why. And if I have time, thank you, I can see it. Just 2 seconds. I think a lot of the comments ignore, when we, I think, just focus so narrowly on supply and demand. We ignore things like RealPage that interfere with the market, kind of the corporate takeover over neighborhoods throughout Nevada, particularly Las Vegas. So again, things like rent stabilization really make sure that things stay attainable, accessible, affordable. It is the single most effective way to again, promote stability within housing, and I think there is equal, I would love to provide it with folks, there's equal evidence and research to say that it does not do the things that a lot of folks are so terrified and say that it does. So I think that's all. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony today. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in neutral? I don't see anyone walking up. Is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 280? Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 280, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits 225, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, I wanted to testify in opposition, but I wasn't called. I was on the line. I don't know why it didn't show. Can I testify in opposition, please?
Yes, we will move back to testimony in opposition. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Katrin Ivanov, KATRIN-IVANOFF. I understand the intent behind the bill. However, the rent control portion is horrible, and I would just, for the sake of you and me, it's just ditto that I'm in opposition for the bill. And oh, 1 second, I wanted just to mention, they just mentioned the governor vetoed that bill as presented last session. What is the logic for you guys to lose our time to listen to that bill now when hopefully the governor is going to veto it again? Why you guys don't work more on bills that corporations cannot come and buy residential properties and outbid residents with hundreds of thousands of dollars that we can't even afford to bid them? Because if I'm selling a house and corporation is giving me $200,000-$300,000 or even $50,000 more than a person, of course I'm going to sell it. So I can't blame the sellers. But at the same time, try to pass bill that's going to protect us versus bill that already was vetoed and is the same governor. I understand if the governor is someone else, but you have the same governor. There should be some rules to not lose our time with that. I'm sick and trying to listen to what you guys are doing, and there should be some rules that prevent us of repetitious bills that are vetoed by the same governor. I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, thank you so much. I know you're trying your best. I appreciate your hard work. Have a lovely day.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now move back to testimony in neutral. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to testify in neutral.
Thank you. Majority Leader, would you like to give any final remarks?
Thank you, Chair. I want to start by saying I'm extremely disappointed that the Nevada Realtors will show up and oppose a bill that they were the lead stakeholders in 2023. The Nevada Realtors and myself began working on this bill with stakeholders upon the adjournment of the 2021 session. I said it in my opening remarks in 2023 that for 18 months we worked on this bill together. And in 2023, I sat here in this very room with the Nevada Realtors on one side and legal aid on the other. And Keith Lynham was here and testified on behalf of the Nevada Realtors, and I quote from the minutes of this committee. We want to thank Assemblymember Howdigi for working with us diligently several times during the interim to bring some common sense solutions to affordable housing for those who are leasing and those who are renting those homes out. We represent both sides of this. I will say it again, we represent both sides. I believe we are unique in that we represent landlords and represent tenants. We are at the forefront of this, and we want to make sure to come in support of this important bill. Again, we appreciate Assemblymember Howdigi for bringing this forward, and we appreciate the opportunity to come forward with a solution. We are in full support of Assembly Bill 298. Again, I am extremely disappointed, and I agree with our neutral testifier that 10% is too high, but it was what we agreed upon. It was a consensus between the stakeholders who were involved in those negotiations. But now, since there is a party who did not negotiate in good faith, I am open to revisiting that cap and lowering it to 5%. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Majority Leader, for your final remarks, for clearing up the records, and for also putting our last minutes of 2023 session on the record. We appreciate it. I will now close the hearing on Assembly Bill 280. I will now open up for public comment. Please address your remarks to issues that fall within the jurisdiction of this committee. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record. I see that you're ready. You may begin.
Thank you, Chair. Just running on fumes, trying to focus. My name is Ben Ennis, B-E-N-I-N-E-S-S, Coalition Manager for the Nevada Housing Justice Alliance, tenant organizer and advocates here for our second consecutive Advocacy Day here in Carson City. I think these days are a dime a dozen, throughout session, but it means a lot to us to bring our folks here. Some are still in the room with us. And I just want to say, I think ultimately, I think the committee knows what's at stake. It's been discussed in depth. This feels like our committee for our issues. Most of our bills are housed here, come through here, were passed earlier. I don't want to name them. And so again, just want to name that, appreciate that. Thank you. And then I hope we can maintain that momentum for the rest of the session. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, and also for you and your entire group to spend the entire day with us. Thank you. You may begin when you're ready.
Hi, my name is Lucetta Keys, and I'm from Las Vegas, Senate District 8.
Is your microphone on?
Yes.
Oh, okay, there we go. If you can just get a little closer, remember to spell your name.
My name's Lucetta Keys, L-O-U-S-E-T-T-A-K-E-Y-E-S. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, Senate District 8, Assembly District 5. I had the opportunity to speak to my Assemblywoman earlier today, and I was quite impressed. Thank you. I told her 2 small stories of mine. One is that I have 2 children. My son, unfortunately, no longer lives in this state with me. He was poached by the state of Tennessee. They paid him $10,000 to move to their state because he was a remote worker and a high-wage earner in the tech industry. He had no opportunity to buy a house here. He tried and was beaten out by people with cash in hand. I can only assume that those are corporations. My daughter and her young family was broken up because her landlord chose to raise her rent $400, which represented 35% increase. There was no way for her family to budget for that. And now her and my granddaughter live at home with me. I want you to please consider the families and the communities that live in this state. My family has been injured because this state favors landlords. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for your testimony today and also sharing your personal stories. Is there anyone else wishing to give public comment in Carson City?
CYRUS.
No, hold on one
Oh.
second. We are not in Las Vegas yet. You may begin when you're ready.
My name is Michael Tang, MICHAEL, I'm a volunteer with Faith in Action Nevada and also a volunteer with St. Vincent de Paul Society. We help distribute food and help pay rent and electric bills for those who are unfortunate to suffer from those inequalities. Last year we served over 285 people. I actually have it on my phone, but I won't go through that now. Currently, right now in this situation, we do need a solution because our society alone is dealing with a lot of calls that are demanding help, and with the federal funding right now, it's been cut, so there's that. So right now, dire situation is here, and we are relying pretty much on the state, and it's really hopeless for us, but we try to rely on the city, we try to rely on the county, but of course there's some issues with that. So our last step is the state. And so we're running out of funds, and a lot of people right out there, especially Wonder Lodge, Lake Mill, and 4th Street motels do need help, and that's just in Reno. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your public comment today and everything that you're doing for the community. Is there anyone else in Carson City wishing to give public comment? I don't see anyone. I see you seated in Las Vegas. You may begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon. CYRUS, HOJJATY. I just want to say I think I was out of line. Just pretty concerning. It's just frustrating. And I've noticed a few of you out there when you see me, it just, to some of you, you guys think of me as like I'm probably like the worst thing on this earth. I don't know. Not the vast majority of you, but, and, the sponsor of the last several bills, we had a lot to agree on. And I'm just not getting a very pleasant response. And this is the thing. It's like if we have disagreements on, maybe we come into the light, realize there's things that we can work on. Just take a look at the Tesla protesters. There's a lot of things that we agreed on both sides. The sponsor of the bill was at a PBS town hall event that I wasn't notified. I was waiting on the outside, and then just didn't want to talk to me. It was like I don't get it. It's like, did I ruin your life or something? And I can understand that my approach can be unpleasant. I'll admit it in the last several years. I mean, seriously, what can I do to make things better? But, we have to work together, and we have to understand we will have differences. But other than that, just, I don't know what to say. I just want to make sure everything's cool between us. And I really appreciate all the efforts that you've done. Yeah, thank you so much.
And we appreciate you coming in to give public comment this afternoon. Thank you. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas wishing to give public comment? I don't see anyone. Broadcast, is there anyone on the line?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hi, Katrina Ivanov, KATRINIVANOFF. I just wanted to suggest, I mentioned before, but there's got to be some better way of doing business. You have plenty of bills to do, and what I'm starting to see is a pattern that you have the same thing that you want to push, and I'm not saying you personally, I'm just saying you generally. Not just this committee and anybody in the legislature. And they have the same things through different bills. These things snuck here, these things snuck there. And I have a feeling that some of the more unpleasant things they're trying to push on the population because we're trying to keep an eye on what you guys are doing. But how does it make sense that this bill was vetoed in the last session and it's brought up again under the same governor? Maybe you should have some rule. Bill that was tried to be passed in one session, maybe wait another session or two before they try to be passed again. I don't get it. You have like thousands of bills to go through, and what I'm seeing is repetitions after repetitions after repetitions, even similar bills, but different numbers. So maybe if it doesn't pass here, pass over there. It's just, it's mind-boggling to me. Those things should be more efficient. Maybe you guys should create something similar to dogs that can make efficiency better and help us spend less money on all that. That would be ideal. I don't know who has to do that, but it's got to come from you guys. Thank you so much for the hard work. Regardless, I know you're trying your best and you're working hard. So thank you for that, and have a lovely day.
Thank you for your public comment today. Broadcast, is there anyone else on the line?
Chair, we have no more callers choosing to give public comment at this time.
Thank you. Are there any comments from members before I adjourn? I don't see any. This will conclude our meeting for today. This meeting's adjourned.